Alright, so Scourge again, making another video, primarily zone poker, but I'm now also throwing in some regular tables to just kind of smooth out the volume, get as many hands as I can, utilize all 4 tables that I'm allowed, and pretty much just get into as many interesting spots as we can without losing too much. That's kind of interesting. He opened pre-flop and I called, for what it's worth. So I've been up and down a lot over the past few days at zone. I think I definitely need to be a little careful with my bankroll, just because I've been mixing zone. So on peak hours I'm playing 10 NL zone, 25 NL zone, and then past couple days I was just throwing into regular 25 NL tables, and that's kind of a lot of my bankroll to have in play at once. Anyway, here I'm gonna bet just because the board is so draw heavy. I don't mind taking down the pot now. We have second pair and an over, which just improved to trips, which is always fun. So again, just going for another value bet here. Gonna keep it kind of bigger just because he's shown interest on the flop and it's still really draw heavy. If he were to raise that, I would probably be probably folding. Might depend on how he sized it. Here on a paired board, I'm just saving to take it down. And I think I can pretty easily go for a value bet here. King Jack is the only hand that got there, and I think he's less likely to be playing gut shots. His draws that missed obviously aren't calling, but he can definitely find a call with like Jack 10. He's not folding Queen 10 for sure. That's a pretty gross raise. When he leads into me, I'm just folding, despite the kind of ridiculous price. I don't think I can really fold getting such a good price here. Wow, so that kind of sucks. It might be a fold there. I'm not really sure, to be honest. He played it pretty badly, I'd say. Granted, he did get maximum value, but only because the board ran out like absurdly well for him. Trying to think, like, if he ever can put more money in with worse nines, like King 9, Jack 9, then 8 9. I think it's actually probably fine. I think calling it off there is probably fine, just because we are getting like better than 3-1 here. Probably gonna raise if he c-bets, just because he's not gonna have a king all the time, and I'd love to just take down the pot, but also take the initiative. I can barrel some turn cards too. Maybe not barrel some turn cards. He's pretty short. Might just take every card if he calls. 276 and then 986. Yeah, I can definitely call here. When he jams, I do have to fold though, which is unfortunate. But we were getting a really good price on our call there. Actually, am I getting? No, I'm not quite. Not quite getting 4-1 there. Props to him for playing it decently well, although he gave us a little too good of a price there. And off to a great start. Oh, please don't be full. Okay. Yeah, so right now I've got 25 NL zone, 10 NL zone, 10 NL 9 max, just because I think the full ring tables are oddly enough even fishier than the 6 max tables. So this is just going to be to kind of, well, in theory, add some lower variance hands to the mix. I'm going to 3-bet this. It's more of an isolation 3-bet than anything. I don't really want to go multi-way. I'd rather have, and I also rather have the initiative. I won't always do that, especially since he's under the gun. It almost looks like he's trying to induce here or get a cheap price, which is, I mean, more often than not, they're looking for a cheap price, which is why I'm going for the raise button here. That's a pretty nice card, because if he does have like a better flush draw or something, we just pulled ahead. I think I'm actually going to value bet this. It's a little bit thin, but he doesn't have that many aces in his range. I guess he might have some pure air floats. Sizing kind of on the big side here. If he were to jam, it's pretty gross. But I'm probably calling. I think it's a call. But he does fold. So I'm thinking he maybe even had like... Well, it's a little weird because I would think if he had a flush draw and like a gut shot, so if he had like, I don't know, Queen X of diamonds, I could kind of expect him to peel one more. Like if he had ace queen of diamonds or something like that. It's pretty hard to see him folding there, but I guess we didn't have that much behind. I did kind of size it bigger for that reason. Getting a pretty sick price on the button here with a very playable hand. I just kind of have to call. It's going to be gross. We're going to have to fold a lot, but when we do hit sets, I mean, it looks like a lot of money is going in this pot, and now I can just very comfortably fold when we just completely brick. This is a fairly draw-heavy board, and he's short stacking. He's probably bad. I don't mind betting this again, but I'm probably shutting down on the river, even if it blanks, even if it bricks off. I'm going to 3-bet as a semi-bluff here. He calls again, which, you know, not excited about, but at the same time, I do think I'm ahead a ton. Not happy with an overcard, but if he bets, can I fold? He's been so passive the whole time. I want to say, obviously when he does that, I have to fold. Really feel like he can take some missed draws like this, but he's played so passively, I'm not sure. Oh no, he's just got the nuts. No big deal. Nothing to see here, folks. Just making bad calls all day, that's all. This guy's short stacked, so I'm, well, and now with another guy in, I'm definitely just 3-betting this all day. Not quite that large. Obviously, I'm snap calling if this guy shoves. I'm thinking my only play here is to just jam all in, which is kind of nasty. But I'm not really feeling like there's a better option when he's at stack size. Obviously, he's not folding a pair of jacks or pocket queens probably, but on the times when he does miss, I don't really want to be like having to check fold just because I didn't hit my pair. So I think shoving is probably best there. At this point, I'm fairly happy with the zone software. The main thing really is that the player pools aren't big enough yet that you're kind of instantaneously in the next hand. Sometimes you do have to wait a little bit. Not really going to see bet this board all that much. I mean, there's not really any good turn cards for us either, so I'm just going to give up. And definitely giving up when someone bets. But yeah, you'll notice there's a slight pause in between hands, which, it's still going to be way faster than the regular table, so it's not really the end of the world. My strategy so far at zone has been, well, at 25 and L, I'm basically 3-betting a lot. I'm trying not to really flat out of position because people's ranges are fairly strong and they like calling in position, so I much prefer to 3-bet in position than out of position. You see, I'm taking these kind of like decent aces and just sort of folding them when facing a raise, even though I'd be opening that from any position. And I mean, you could argue one way or the other about whether I can play ace 10 offsuit out of position well or not. It's still a fairly playable hand, so I mean, I kind of go back and forth on it, but I've been running not that well today and at the end of yesterday, so I've been kind of trying to just tighten up. Basically just take the lower variance high profit spots as much as possible, whereas I'm leaving out some of the more marginally plus EV spots. We'll see if I succeed, but so far seems not. I might switch out this table. I forgot how slow the regular 4-ring tables are. But if we can get something going here, maybe I'll leave it up there. It's just that the full-ring tables are pretty crazy sometimes. Like the average players to flop is like up sometimes 40% or higher. It's just like, this is full ring, you know? Pretty crazy. Whoops. He's taking this really weird line. I kind of feel like he has a weak jack. So when the queen hits, he's just like, I don't know what to do, but I want to have to fold if he bets, so I bet. And now he might be a little more confident in his jack, I suppose. It's almost never a bluff, and the main thing is like, some players will do that with bottom pair. So if he's doing it with the bottom pair, I'm obviously excited to just call down. But when he fires 3 streets and that sizing on the river, I just feel like it's a jack almost always. Standard steal. Okay, yeah, this is, I think I'm just going to fold out at the next big blind because this is so slow. Even this game is going pretty slow right now. I don't really want to throw in the 5NL zone table just because, I mean, at this point I'm so overrolled for 5NL, it's almost a waste of my time to play it. But I might throw it in there just for volume. I'm going to make it kind of loose 3-bet here. The one argument for making this kind of 3-bet is that it looks really strong because I'm 3-betting against an under-the-gun raiser. We do pick up a pair, but we're still basically on a semi-bluff here. If he were to check raise, I'm probably going to have to fold, although you could make the argument that he shouldn't really be check raising something like ace-king there, because I don't really call with worse. I have been taking some more bluff catchy lines lately, and for a while they were going decently, and then I started bluff catching on like really, I mean, like the actual boards I was bluff catching on were fine, but they got way worse. This guy leads out, which I'm not really pleased about, but I do have top pair. I feel like I kind of have to peel one and just see what he does on the turn. When he bets again, I'm feeling like it's either we're chopping with an ace or he's got a jack. And it seems kind of weird for him to bet an ace like this. I think he'd go for a more passive line. I just went and lost my train of thought. Something about bluff catching lines. Yeah. Basically, when you take a bluff catching line with a top pair type hand and the board gets really ugly, like I'm talking like 4 to a straight, 3 to a flush when there was like nothing on the flop, it gets tricky to say the least. I am gonna c-bet here. Maybe not the best board, and they both obviously snap call, but I feel like flatting ranges I'm doing okay against, pretty much no matter what. I could be wrong though. There's a lot of drawing hands here though, so I think, yeah, and some of those drawing hands picked up trips, so definitely can't hero that. Surprisingly little going on. Yeah, definitely going to be getting rid of this table. Once the big blind hits me, I'm gonna ISO that. Suited and with a call, another caller in the pot, I think I'm just going to call for mostly implied odds reasons, and I'm going to brick the flop, so I'm just going to check fold. I obviously can't call this. Kind of interesting line, right? I mean, he limps, calls a raise, and then open shoves 4 times pot. So it's actually, I mean, I'm definitely considering a call with something like pocket tens. Maybe I could have taken a stab there, but out of position, it's a little bit gross to do. And I'm going to shut down this table now. See if we can get something a little better going. That looks better. Average players to flop 41% on the 25 and L6 max table, so definitely excited about that. I think I'm actually just going to 3-bet and plan to get this in against this player. I don't really want to go multi-way, and I'm probably ahead of his get it in range, pretty sure. He makes a pretty weird flat, but I'm going to be jamming this flop because there's not really a better line I can take, I don't think. Checking back just seems bad because there's so many bad turn cards for us. And here, I'm just going to call with a suited ace. Out of position, but he did min-raise, so I'm getting a pretty nice price. With the 3 diamonds out there, I think I feel a little bit more obligated to bet this. He's going to have an ace a decent portion of the time as well, which is a little bit frustrating, and that's one of the worst river cards for us. I think it's just a check fold now because I don't really see us getting thin value from anything, and I'm not really I don't think he takes a bluffing line without a queen here when he didn't even bet the flop, like as a continuation bet on a paired board. Standard open, standard fold. Nothing too interesting yet. That's okay. So hopefully the pace will pick up a little bit here now that I've got 2 zone and 2 6 max regular tables. Obviously once I start getting hands there. Kind of loose open, but people are folding a ton pre-flop so far. And of course, I just had to open my big mouth. Whoopsie daisy, that was a misclick. That'll also be a fun one. Pull a little Phil Ivey here. Except I feel like it'd be a little more legit if we had 3-bet or something. What am I doing? I don't want to do that. This is a check pot, limp pot. Here I'm just going to stab. He didn't c-bet a paired board. It's kind of hard for me to think that he's going to continue after he doesn't c-bet. And there I did have the double gutter up here, but not really a favorable board. The bottom end's not really going to be that good for us either. Alright, some premium. I'm going to get a walk, I imagine, but it happens. Sometimes a lot. More premium. Steal the blinds. Oh, yep. Really not too much going on. It's kind of the first like semi-interesting board, I guess. Definitely betting. It's pretty wet, and I expect worse to continue a ton. Worse ace X will actually continue. Club draws will continue. It's a little bit tricky because, like, I'm not really sure if I expect him to be raising bare clubs. And if I don't, I can't call. If he jams, I'm actually probably... I was going to say I'm going to call. That's so weird. He just pots. He hits the pot button, which tells me he's really bad. Unfortunately, that doesn't really tell me whether he's going to bluff on here or not. I have seen some pretty stupid bluffs, though. So I'm just going to get it in. Yeah. So he had a gut shot and no flush draw. Just something about when people just jam the pot button, it always makes me think they're bluffing. Because they didn't really think about how much they have behind. They just want to... It feels like they just want to bet and get you off your hand. Maybe that's wrong to kind of think about it that way, but you know, he completed, so he could have a lot of these junk hands here, but wow, he just pots it just like that. I was planning on raising some turn cards, but his sizing is not making me feel too good about that. And because he only has like $6 behind, I don't think it's really going to be that profitable to play. We have much less fold equity, especially when he pots it on the turn. If I didn't pay attention, I might have checked this behind. I think I'm going to check back now. I can call some... I can sometimes call if he bets the river, but because he does have draws. What did he have? He had flush draw, I think. This seems a little too strong to just fold for that price. Definitely peeling one. Here I think I can actually value bet again. And I'm probably calling a shove. I might actually check raise here. Try to represent a made straight. But that might actually be bad, just because if he's barreling here, he's probably pretty strong. Yeah, now actually I'm pretty sure I'm ahead. Oops. Pretty sure I'm ahead. Doubt I'm getting value for much of those, so I'm just going to check it. I'm planning to call like a reasonable bet here, just because the bet check behind on a wet board and then bet the river looks so bluffy. That's a little bit gross. Sizing is pretty big, but on the button I feel like I might be able to call. Of course, when I get this flop, I just, like, I hate life because I can't really do anything. My hands are pretty much completely tied. He does size it like a bluff, and it is a squeeze spot, and all he can really have are overpairs and sets that like this board. So I think I'm actually gonna go for a raise. I kind of like a raise. You guys can tell me how bad I am later when he jams. But he shouldn't really jam ace king here, I think. And even if he does, obviously I can't call. One time I try an interesting play, it just blows up in my face. Apparently people aren't squeezing enough. And speaking of squeezing enough, I'm gonna squeeze. It's a little nasty because he is under the gun, but again, people fold way too much to 3-bets. So we're gonna slowly try to make back that like $13 I just threw away. You can't say I don't spew, at least. You can't say I don't provide some interesting, let's just call it entertainment. I was gonna say education, but that's pretty borderline. Probably try to keep this video on the shorter side. I know my past few have been getting pretty long. I try to avoid that a little bit. I'm just 3-betting this because we're in position and he's full stacked and making a normal raise size, and I think we get folds post flop. I don't go as 3-bet crazy at 10 and L as I do at 25 because I don't think I get as many folds. Just gonna go for roughly 60% bet here. If he doesn't have a queen, he's not really excited. We're ahead of ace king, which is nice. When he does call, he's pretty much narrowed to like a queen or like pocket jacks. Like I don't think he's peeling that much with ace king, and of course ace king just gets there. Yeah, I have to fold to a bet now, especially because if he did peel with ace king, we're totally screwed. Cut off first. Oops, I meant to open that. Cut off first button. Value. And folding here. And betting for value. Catch a pretty nice board. Definitely still happy taking it down though. Sizing a little bit bigger. He can have some draws, and we pick up another draw, so I think I'm pretty much never folding at this point. Can I go smaller than that? Yeah. And if he does call the turn, it's hard to see us really ever being. I mean, I guess he might be able to fold this river, but we don't have that many flush draws. Yeah, this is just an all-in. I can't really see him calling a much smaller size at a much higher frequency. He does call, which is nice. I'm going to check what he had in a second here. And just folding the... yeah, I'm just going to fold that. We are under the gun. He shouldn't be 3-betting too much. It's also not zoned, so I feel like people don't 3-bet as wide because they know you can catch them, and then you know who they are on that table or whatever. Hello. All right, well, that's just going to take its sweet time, but we'll get there eventually. Standard open, standard fold. Gonna ISO this. Expect to get called pretty wide still. Anyone limping the button, I expect to have a huge edge against, basically. Wow. I think I can flat this. I do have some implied odds on hitting a set. And we're just going to catch the worst board ever, but that's okay. C-betting this very dry board because we get folds. And when he just comes out and pots it for half his stack, it's not exactly a question here. Oh, whoops. That's aggravating. Again, gonna ISO. If he's folding, just without a second thought there, we're in good shape. I've been seeing this a lot with people 3-betting all in on the zone tables. I kind of feel like it must just be people with like aces, and they don't really want to do anything, and because they haven't... Wow. Really? There's not really enough in there to make a loose call here. That's fine. You can show me 3 deuce or whatever. Gonna make kind of a loose open just because people have been folding a lot. Gonna 3-bet here. It seems like people haven't really been folding a ton to 3-bets, so I don't really mind just doing it for value. Gross. Okay, you can have it. Just making the loosest open of my life, and he 3-bet, so. Whoops. Gross. I'm gonna go for a lead out though. Hard to see people having too much on that board. And we do take it down. We do have a gut shot and an over, so you know, obviously we can just bink that if anyone calls, but oops, easy. Alright, so I think it's been about half an hour. Probably try to go for another 15 minutes or so. There haven't really been too many spots. I do apologize for that. This is a little bit odd up here. I don't remember if I c-bet the flops, so I'm just going to check behind. Hope I bink something, or I'm good with queen high. Which it seems like is possible. Okay. This guy's been doing crazy stuff, so I'm just going to size kind of big and see if he wants to shove all in again. And we're in fantastic shape. And we hold, which is always nice. Always nice. That is obviously one huge benefit to playing regular tables, which is that I get to see that he did that twice in very close proximity, and so I can, I mean, not that I was probably folding ace-king there, but I can feel like 100% confident of why I'm like raising bigger there and hoping to accomplish. It is interesting though that he showed up with a hand so strong, that he showed up with ace-queen there. It definitely makes me think that this is a little bit more of a strategy than a kind of random thing, where he's deliberately just shoving his very strong hands, but trying to make it look just fishy so he can get some pretty marginal call downs, which I imagine he does get from time to time. especially on new tables. Like he could probably sit down, do that a few times with his strong hands, get up, sit back again in a different table. My flatting 3-bets hasn't been going that well. I'm just gonna fold this. It's not a great hand, and kind of same with this. I don't really love flatting stuff like King Jack offsuit. And here I'm just gonna go for a value bet against worst pocket pairs pretty much, and ace high. And if I'm facing a raise, I'm probably just folding, just because people don't bluff enough on. Well, people don't bluff enough in general, but even on stuff like paired boards, they're not really bluffing enough. This is a pretty great card for us. Makes it much less likely he has a queen. All of his pocket pairs now feel comfortable when I bet again. Deuces might fold. 4s and 5s might begrudgingly fold, but other than that, we're pretty much in fantastic shape. Still definitely betting though, because, wow, that's pretty gross. He snap min raises, so he definitely could still have something like 7s or 8s here, I think. So I have to at least peel and reevaluate on the river, I think. That's a pretty bizarre card. A little frustrating. Would have been nice if, yeah, whatever. If he jams, I mean, if he jams, it's fucking gross. He snap checks behind and he mucks, so that's good for us. He leads out, kind of small. He calls. I'm not excited about my hand, but I'm definitely not folding pocket queens for just one bet here. If he were to bet, I'm probably folding just because there's not really draws. And when he sizes so large, it's really hard to see him having anything but a king here. And I'm certainly not trying to fold him. I'm certainly never trying to turn pocket queens into a bluff there. Gonna make it kind of loose open from the cutoff. Wide ISO here. Gonna put more money in here. If he'll let me, and he does, we get 3-bets, so I fold. I think a fairly standard c-bet here. There's some barrelable turn cards. Here he's min-donking, and in my experience that is almost always weakness and often a draw of some kind, but he's going to fold on a lot of turn cards when he doesn't hit his draw, even if he decides to flat the flop. I was watching a DC video recently with Danza Smack, and he was describing what he calls the flop check raise phenomenon, which he talks about for limit poker, but he says he thinks is applicable to. I'm going to 3-bet this as a semi-bluff, but he thinks is applicable to no limit as well, which is that people don't like folding the flop. They're going to peel really wide, but then, like with very weak holdings, but then fold a lot of turn cards. This is a little bit tricky multi-way. It's dry enough that I'm feeling pretty comfortable just going for a value bet. With jacks here, I just want a 3-bet. Think for value when he min raises, but it's honestly kind of hard to know at times. I'm gonna size slightly on the larger side with the ace-10 here, and I'm gonna bump it up with ace-jack. Especially against this guy. I mean, he's so short. I think I can go for pretty much a half pot bet and get a fair number of folds from his stuff that's not connecting well. But he does call. We catch a pair, but there's a flush, and you go all in. I should be behind here. I'm not really that convinced. And here I'm going for a pure value bet. Probably willing to get it in against this guy. Most likely no one else. He snap checks, so I think I'm always ahead, and I'm going to go for a miniature value bet. Super miniature. try to get heroed by like, I don't know, 6, 7. That might be a really bad bet, actually. I'm not really sure. Here, I'm going to go for another value bet and probably call if he... I have to call if he shoves, but yeah, he's just going to casually play a set like that, so that kind of sucks. The good news is, actually, he wasn't really that short stacked. Well, fuck. Basically, I'm running really good. No, I'm still above sorting stack. No, somehow. Fuck. I'm just gonna misclick not open pairs on four-handed tables. Okay. Really? This is a 25 and all table. I think I kind of have to get it in with 8s here. I'll be getting like at least 1.5 to 1 on my money. This guy never has anything that's calling my all-in. Oh, really? Oh my god. Like, I don't really care if I lose 8s under 9s, but don't give me a fucking set and then give him a straight. That just hurts. If he's getting it in with 9s there, I'm pretty sure he's getting in with worse, etc., etc. I run bad. This is one of the not as good sessions, probably, that I've had on video, so I'll have to decide whether I actually want to upload this or not. I guess it can't really hurt. I did spew that like those couple hands. That was good, but the other thing to note about the guy shoving the 9s is that he's definitely getting in with ace-queen there. Pretty hard to believe he's getting in with 9s plus, but not ace-queen. So we're still in really good shape against his range. This is kind of awkward just because of his stack size, but I'm going to size a little bit smaller, and obviously planning to get it in with top pair when he's so short stacked. I think he has a ton of draws here, blind versus blind, so I'm just going to barrel. The jack's not great. All the draws miss, so I'm just going to barrel kind of small. You didn't snap fold, so okay. I was going to say, you didn't snap fold, so that's not good. But yeah, I think there he has so many draws, so many missed draws, and like nobody's calling 2 streets and then bluff raising the river with missed draws. So I feel pretty good about that. The jack on the turn also does, of course, make it less likely that he has one. Makes it less likely that we have one also in his eyes, but you know, with top set here and him being short stacked, I'm going to check behind. It's not that draw heavy, just straight draws. Here when he pots it and I have no heart, I can just fold. It's pretty hard to get paid with a set of aces just because you always have top set. So it's very hard for someone to have top pair. I mean, I know I'm probably just saying things people know, but basically the only time that I get paid when I have a set of aces is when someone else has a lower set, which is almost never, obviously. And a lot of the hands that you would be getting set over set are hands that are willing to stack off pre-flop anyway. So you're not necessarily making a lot of money. I'm going to make a kind of tight fold. I just don't see this playing that well out of position for like later streets. I've kind of been 3-betting against min raises a lot. It seems like people are folding them more than 3x's. Standard steal. Standard raise. standard raise with premium, standard steal the blinds. But then again, I'm sometimes able to steal the blinds with like this hand, so shouldn't really complain. Whoops, did it again. Not stealing with that though. 7-4 offsuit, absolutely. 7-3 offsuit is just too low. Probably gonna bluff raise this flop if he c-bets, just because my sizing is a little bit big, which I'm not a big fan of, but I think I can still just do a little, kind of a small one, and then fold to any continuing aggression pretty much. And he does fold. It's not something I used to do very much at all, bluff raising flops in position. I was kind of floating a lot, but then I sort of realized that when someone doesn't have something on a flop, but you don't have anything on a flop, it's often going to be better to just raise and put pressure on them on the flop, where you can have so many different things. It also gives you initiative on the turn, allows you to barrel. Here, that was just a very standard value 3-bet. If he has 10s here or something, he's never folding, I don't think. So I'm going to size it kind of big. I doubt he's really peeling too much in a 3-bet pot out of position with like ace-jack or something. So really just trying to size big against his pocket pairs that might stack off, like 8s through jacks. Also not expecting him to have too many better over pairs there, just because he would likely 4-bet it pre-flop. I think this is an okay board to c-bet. We do have some backdoor draws. Weirdly enough, the most common hand I've seen people take this min check raise line with is flush draws. So I'm actually going to peel. You snap half pots it. So I always try to convince myself he has tons of bluffs, but he also just looks like he's setting up a river shove here. It's more the fact that he makes the bet so fast, but at the same time it's zone. People are playing fairly nitty. This can very easily be a set where it's a wet board, etc. So I should probably just be getting rid of that on the flop, but a lot of times people do actually give up on the turn, and then I can just either see a cheap showdown or bet the turn and take it down. Facing a lot of aggression, a little bit odd now that we're getting into late afternoon for the day. Should be more fish on the tables. Although I guess it still is a Tuesday afternoon, but I think this is a fairly standard squeeze spot. Size it fairly large out of position. Just going for folds. But if this guy folds and this guy calls, we're still in a pretty good spot. And he's short stacked and calling that raise, so he does look pretty fishy. And we get a pretty big 4-bet. Which obviously we cannot call. And I just don't think there's any. I mean, we are blind versus button, but I don't think there's enough of a dynamic to even consider doing anything kind of ridiculous with that. Oops. I don't remember what was going on up there, but I think I wanted to fold anyway. I think he has tons of pocket pairs and flush draws here. He obviously has some king X, but I think I can barrel and get a lot of the pocket pairs to fold. But no, he's gonna. What? This looks like king queen, or actually, why did he do this with king queen? It looks like ace king minimum, but like I just feel like he should have bluffs there. Like, what is he even doing? Kind of shitty to fold for that, but I didn't see how much he had behind before. I'm getting queens a lot. Obviously not a complaint. Also been stealing the blinds with premiums a lot, which is a complaint. With the top pair, I'm going to bet for value. Unfortunately, obviously 7s, 8s, 9s, all those hands that are probably flatting pre-flop they're not going anywhere. And it's hard for us to know when we're ahead, but you can also peel with ace high and possibly some other junk too. Pretty interesting guy playing like 11 big blinds or so. Flop is dry enough that I like c-betting it. We actually have a pretty interesting hand here. We have a backdoor flush draw and we're double gutted, so I am going to bet. It's not great because it's definitely hitting a flatting range pretty well. That's actually a pretty decent barrel card, but I'm ahead. Seems pretty criminal not to bet here, especially because if he does have an ace or a 9 and a heart comes, if he has the ace, he's going to have a lot of trouble putting us on a flush draw here. So we're pretty much free rolling unless I guess he's got spades, in which case, you know, whatever. Obviously, don't really want to give him a chance to play correctly, so I think I should probably just shove here. We're totally fine free rolling if he does have an ace. Obviously, we're pretty happy if he just calls with a 9. And too bad that wasn't a heart. I got tricked for a second. You know, this might be a fold. I didn't notice just how multi-way we were. But I just feel like when someone leads that board, wow. Normally I would think when someone leads that board, it's more likely to be draws, like flush draws and straight draws. I have no idea what this guy's doing. He just bet off more than half of his stack for a pot-sized bet, which always makes me want a hero, but I'm gonna let it go. We're multi-way and we're four-way. So it's pretty hard to see that on my head there. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I hate my flop call. Because we're just going to get into that situation on the turn. There's no good turn card, for one thing. Like, every turn card is bad, pretty much. Yeah, definitely flop should be a fold. On this wet-ish board, I'm going to c-bet. This is sort of semi-value in a way. Because I think we do get called by worse, but we're obviously definitely getting called by better, and we don't have any like immediate outs, which is why I hesitate to say semi-bluff, and I think it's more for value. But a lot of times we're just happy to fold out the villain's equity with like an ace-high type hand, or ace-king. Although, frankly, he's probably 3-betting ace-king. Still getting called by like heart draws a lot of the time here, I think. So just going to go for another barrel, but he might fold some 10x, I guess. That's a pretty bad card, but I kind of don't think he would... I don't think he would like snap check a flush that just came in. So I'm going to jam. He shouldn't really have any... Oh, that's not good. Wow. Well, good for him, I guess. Not really, because that was a pretty bad call on the turn, I think. I don't think he even got the implied odds that he needed to quote-unquote call that a plus EV play, even if we did go all in every single time, which we're obviously not, because we're not going to be binking top pair every time. Do kind of wish I checked behind now, but I don't think my shove is that bad. And here getting more than 5 to 1, I'm calling basically for implied odds. Hard to see much value in 3-betting this, so I'm just going to call. If he does something funky like shove all in and then he calls, like, I'm not really sure, I probably find a fold. Gonna bump it up here. I kind of like, I almost like leading here, but I don't think we get called by worse really, so it's a little bit nasty. On this board, I think I have to bet, even though it's 3-way. I don't think I can bet again, though. Oh my goodness, this is so gross. I'm calling if he jams. If he calls also, I might have to fold. It's getting into the range of... he checks, though, which is a little bit weird. I think I'm almost always ahead, just because I don't think he checks behind many jacks here. Tough to know, though. Sorry, I'm getting behind hands here. I don't want to fold a set. We get bailed out here, which is always sweet. Not sure I can really size for a jam here, but I'm going to try. I don't get paid there, which is not ideal. But yeah, so I think when he calls again, like, he might be able to hero us with ace 10. He's definitely not folding king 10. And he has to call worse sevens too, like 6-7, 8-7. And he shouldn't really have that many better sevens. He might have ace 7, I guess, but you shouldn't have a lot of better sevens. Like, he shouldn't really have jack 7 or queen 7 there, or 10-7, I would hope. But then again, he did limp call, so you know, who knows. Actually, I'm just going to fold that. I keep forgetting this isn't a zone table, and so I can't really 3-bet quite as much. But I think on that note, actually, you know what? I'll look up this hand to see what he had, and then call it quits. I think for this session, well, for this video anyway, I might keep going. I haven't decided yet. Okay, so now we see a prime example of why we value bet. Here, I'm mostly just betting because I have a pair, and I think I can take it down a ton while still being ahead of some people's calling ranges. This is obviously pretty sweet. I kind of like flatting just because my cold 4-bet looks so strong, but he's a little bit short too. So I think going for a 4-bet might be best. He does call, and this is a pretty amazing board. Just planning on, wow. He makes it too big, so I just have to get it in. He's got jacks here a ton. Yeah. Oh, okay. Wasted set. Get queens again. Wow, we're getting all sorts of premium. Maybe I'll just wait until I stop getting premium. Let's see. Nice to get a stack in there, even though he was a little bit short. Not so short that I'm disappointed or anything. Yeah, so in this hand, the guy, I mean, first of all, I was ahead the whole hand. Second, he called the flop with bottom pair, which, you know, arguably is okay. I mean, it's hard for him to really take more heat, but he is in position, so, you know, I'm going to give up sometimes. The turn, I think, is probably pretty bad on his part. I mean, you know, he's not supposed to really put me on a 7 there, but I am barreling out of position. And there's still a million bad river cards for him. And even on this river, I mean, I think he should give up on this river. Like, there's just too many kings in my range. I'm going to squeeze the king-queen here. Kind of big. I think this shows outright profit just because it's so hard to call a 3-bet of this size, and especially for the original raiser with people behind him, unless he's got like a super premium, it's really hard for him to feel comfortable. I keep folding out, that's annoying. And then the people behind, I mean, it's just standard squeeze theory. I mean, they can't really have anything too strong, or at least we don't think they can have anything too strong. So we try to squeeze them out. And I prefer doing this with stronger hands. Blockers are always nice. Not deep enough with this guy to make this call, I don't think. We are a little short too. And against this stack size, I'm really probably trying to get it all in on the river. If he were to jam here, I might find a fold. Because does he really jam like Jack 10 here? I don't really see him jamming worse jacks. And if he doesn't jam worse jacks, I just can't call. There's also not really any draws that like to speak of, so I think I'm just gonna. That's weird. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna let it go. There's better spots. I can maybe call off with ace jack there, but queen jack is just, there's too many hands that we're behind and not enough that I think he jams that are behind us. And if he does, it's probably going to be some random bluff rather than a jack, really. And on that note, I guess I will call it quits. I ended up going longer than I meant to. I think this video is probably going to be an hour again. Seems to be my sweet spot. Yeah, this has been Scourrge, playing 25 NL mostly, 25 NL zone, 2 regular tables of 25 NL, and then 10 NL zone on Bovada, and thanks for watching.